Hey everybody. Well, today I bring you another work in progress video for my master grade Ez-8. And this of course will be the first video in which I'll be using my new camera, the Panasonic FZ200. Now this is set at 720p at MP4 file format. So while this quality is pretty good, this isn't even the limit of what this thing can do. But I'll save that for another video where I actually do a demonstration of the camera and a comparison to it with my old one. But I digress. Anyway, I've gotten a little bit more done since the last time. Not a lot, but I figure it's enough to show off. And I guess we'll start with some of the detailing I've done here and work our way from there. These are the ankle guards, and I've done the black, or rather the gray detailing in there, and I think that looks alright. These little bits for the front of the foot guards, these little flaps, I did the gray tab in there as well as in the little loop there, just so that if it's moved at all, it'll have some internal detail to show. And also for the face, in addition to sort of cleaning up the grills on the face a little more, I did the lining there on the sides. And from the last time you saw, I did the red there on the goatee, but I also did these little dots in the detailing there. What else? Oh yes. On the head here, I've done some gray details there. I still have to do some on the back here, as well as the forehead camera, or rather the rear camera on the head. And on the front, I've done all the gray detailing there, including, if you'll notice, on the Vulcans there. I've done black in the pits, the areas, in the recessed areas there, and then I cleaned off the round part, and then I painted that little circle with some of the model mask, or rather the flow quill brass that I showed the last time, and it was like this. And as we're on that subject, I also did that for a couple other areas, like on the front skirts and the rear skirt and the inside parts of the legs. And I think that looked pretty good. And basically that's all I did for this frame. But continuing from here, I also did some black, or rather some gray details on the circles there, and on those little shoulder pieces there, and some grilling here on the chest vents. They'll sort of be inconspicuous on the final product, but still, I think they're visible enough that I wanted to do the detail anyway. And then on the back, you'll notice that on the inside of the shoulder armor, I did some detailing in there with some gray, and also on those little flaps for the front of the foot guards and the other side of the shoulder armor. And I believe that's everything for that. Over here, you may remember that the last time I showed off that I did the undersides of the feet with that gray color in between some of the raised sections of the armor. Well, those were separate pieces, and I just decided to trim them out and stick them in for now, just, you know, because it was something I could do in the time being. And that just gives you a look at what the foot looks like as a whole. I think it looks alright. And then for this, you'll remember I did the little X on the last one. But I also did the cockpit hatch door. I attached that and detailed the underside of that door there with some gray. And I think that looks pretty good. And moving on from there, I finished quite a bit of the internal frame, in fact pretty much all of it. You'll remember from the last time maybe that I just had the arms done and the upper parts of the legs, including the knee armor, but I finished the lower legs and the torso, and I had to apply the black parts here for the midsection in order to attach it to this waist or hip section here. And that's just because the ball joint is in here. So anyway, besides that, I also did the cockpit seat. My camera will focus. There we go. And I dry brushed that like I did with some other pieces with that metallic pewter paint, which I can show right here. So I also then just colored in the seat with that gray color, which, by the way, is this Tamiya German gray. It's the same gray I've been using throughout the whole video here. I think it turned out alright. And this is just to add a little more detail for whatever you happen to see once you put the main chest armor and the cockpit hatch opens up. And you'll see the pilot sitting in there, plus any of the metallic detail. And as you'll notice, the beam sabers I put in the hands, I also detailed those with some gray. And the hands hold them alright, as long as you position the fingers well. And the lower legs here, the only thing I really did was, if you look here, you've got the hinges for that beam saber hatch in the legs. That's assembled, but I also painted some of that, dry brushed it with that pewter color as well. It may be a little hard to see here on camera compared to the rest of the plastic, but it's there, and it looks a little better in person. And the last little thing for details I did on this is the pistons here in the ankles. I did that with a combination of this gunmetal color, same as the brass, this Floquil variety, and then I top coated it for protection with a thin coat of this Pledge Future Shine polish stuff. And I've used this on quite a few projects for top coats and protection coats and gloss coats. And speaking of that, one other little thing I've done is for the eyes and the forehead camera. As you remember for the last time. First of all, I applied that little gray border there. That's a separate piece. I dull coated that and stuck that on there just to get ahead. And as you'll notice here on, say, the forehead camera, now it's all glossy. And I tried to do that to make it look like glass. Same for the eyes there too, you may notice. That also helps to protect the paint, but give it that look like it's, yes, a lens of some sort. A glassy, shiny lens. So, that was something I wanted to do, and turned out alright. And I also used that Pledge stuff for that, too. But other than that, there's too much more to say about the internal frame. Again, most of it will be covered up by the outer armor, which is where I'll do most of my detailing and cosmetic effects. And speaking of outer armor, I've gotten one bit of the chest done here. I haven't applied the decal yet. I'll wait to do that later. But I finished that, and there's a separate piece that goes in here, and I painted that gray with the Tamiya color. And then this little bracket that is used to slide in and out and then pivot. I painted both of them with, first of all, a dry brush layer of that pewter. Then the pistons here are done with the gunmetal and the Pledge gloss coat. And then the little areas that frame that are done, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering right, with this Humbrol acrylic bronze, the 171 variety. And I think that turned out alright. I'm not so sure if all this paint will stay on once I assemble everything. And, you know, you got the friction of the moving pieces scraping on that paint, but I figured, you know, if there's a chance you'll see it, I wanted it to look a little better. And anyway, I think that looks pretty good. But we did have one good day of weather here recently, and so I wanted to get done a lot of the painting that I would need to do to, as I said, color the weaponry and the shields and other things. That different color which reflects the color that comes in the original ground type Gundam, because the Ez-8 carries stock weaponry and stock shield, which has the same colors as the normal platoon colors. Well, to illustrate this, I have the shield here. Now, I painted the front of it in a French light blue color from Testers. You'll have to forgive me, I don't have the bottle right here with me right now. But the back I left the plain color because I'm going to paint that with the German gray. Now I'm thinking I can do that with brush, because I was able to do that pretty well with, say, the shoulder armor and the other areas behind that. If I thin the paint down enough, it should work pretty well. But at any rate, the point is that you can see a difference in color here, and just to illustrate it even better, here's the front chest piece in the sort of ivory white color, and there's your gray color as reflected by the ground type Gundam. So you can sort of see a difference there. It's not meant to be very, very significant, but definitely a noticeable change. And I didn't just do the shield, I also did parts of the beam rifle. As you can see, I masked off the barrel and the handle and that little end cap there and some of the internal detail under this bar here, all with blue tack. And it works fantastic for masking parts. It's a modeler's best friend. It can do so many things, and if you don't have any blue tack on hand, you really should get some. But anyway, this is just done in the same gray color as the other things, the shield there. And I'll have to see how this turned out after I remove the blue tack, but I think it'll look pretty good. And after that, I also I stuck some inside the sight of the gun there, so that you know, the little inside area is still gray, but I can also color that with some neon green to make the sight. Anyway, so that should turn out pretty good, I think, once I clean off the blue tack. And the last of the little bits of weaponry I did was one of the machine gun ammo clips. Because if you watch, I believe it's the second to last episode of the 8th MS team. Focus. There you go. The machine gun it uses at first has an ammo clip in it that is a different color than the mobile suit itself. And I wanted to reflect that by coloring this one the same color as, say, the shield and the outer casing of that beam rifle. The other two, on the other hand, are, let's say, painted while they are attached to the side skirts here. So it would make sense that if this was just a custom paint job for the Ez-8, the ammo packs are on it already, and then everything just gets sprayed down with this ivory color. Speaking in terms of the show, hypothetically. And then later it would have just picked up a stock machine gun that came with one of these ammo clips in this different color. At least that's how I figure they made their color decisions based on the show. And one last thing, sort of a few last things regarding this gray color, is the backpack, where you can store that rocket bazooka. I did the outside of it in the gray, but the inside of it with just plain. I left it alone. Because again, I'm thinking of using the German gray, the darker color, inside here. But I didn't have time to paint that as well, especially since this was drying on the other side. So I'll try to handle that on another day, or maybe I'll even hand brush it, but either way, I left them alone for now. And I did all of the bits here. There's quite a few of them. I'll just show a few. And so when that gets assembled, again, that'll be just sort of like some stock pile of gear that came with the rest of the platoon, which the Ez-8 sort of borrows. And then there was one last thing real quick, before my battery dies here, it looks like. That little tip to the shield there. And I did that with a combination of that French light blue gray mixed with a Humbrol cobalt blue, I think the color was called, but I'm not positive. I'll go look it up later and write it down. This turned out pretty nice. It's a little light for my liking, but I think it's still pretty good. And it compares pretty well to this teal color. It's still kind of different, but it's not too clashing, I think. And at any rate, I guess that's about all I've done so far. I'll try to keep doing more things on this kit, but in terms of outdoor airbrush painting things, I don't think I'll have much more of a chance to do it. We'll see, but I don't want to make any promises here. The most I'll probably be able to do from now on are the cosmetic details done with a hand brush. And even then, I don't know it'll be enough to complete the project. So regrettably, this whole thing may have to wait until springtime before I can actually finish it. I hope not, but it's starting to look that way, and if it does turn up that way, I hope you'll be patient. But anyway, I guess that was all I wanted to show for now. So thank you all for watching this, and I hope you're pleased with what I've done so far. And until the next time, when I'll probably be showing off the features of this camera. Until then, I'll catch you later, everybody.